Welcome back to Land Documentation in Nigeria, Part 4. Today we're talking about governor's consent, the document that makes ownership legal. Good day, my people, and welcome once again to Naija Real Estate Diaspora Roadmap, where we simplify land, property, and investment matters so Nigerians abroad can build wealth at home with confidence. So today's topic is one that sounds technical, but in reality, it determines whether your property legally belongs to you or not. So today we're talking about governor's consent. All right. So now, if you've ever tried to buy land in Nigeria, especially from a previous owner, you've probably heard of this sentence. Don't worry, we'll process governor's consent later. Now, for many Nigerians in diaspora, that phrase sounds harmless. But today, I want you to understand why this document is not just a paperwork. It is what makes ownership legal, transferable, and recognized. Because in Nigerian real estate, buying land is one thing, being recognized as the owner of the same land you bought is another. All right, so today, what is governor's consent? So let's break it down in simplest way possible. Governor's consent is the approval given by the state government when ownership of land is transferred from one person to another. Now, why is this necessary? Because under Nigerian law, all land technically held in the trust by the government. We've said this in the previous episode on this podcast. So whenever ownership changes hands, the government must officially acknowledge the transfer. So in simple terms, governor's consent is government saying, yes, we recognize that this land has moved from person A or Mr. A to Mr. B. Now, without this approval, legally speaking, the transfer may exist on paper, but it is not fully legal. And that is where many diaspora buyers get caught. So why do diaspora buyers often ignore this vital document? Now, let me tell you what happens in real life. A Nigerian in Birmingham finds land through a family member. The seller has the CFO as the title of the land. The seller also provided the survey plan and also, I think, the building approval as well. So everything looks legitimate. Payment has been made. A deed of assignment has been signed. The buyer relaxes. But governor's consent is never processed. All right. So years later, when the buyer wants to resell the same property, then the problem begins. Now, because legally, the government still recognizes the previous owner as the rightful owner of the land. That is when the diaspora investor says, but I paid fully. Yes, you paid, but ownership transfer was never completed legally. And that is the role of the governor's consent. So see, now you can see how important this is. Now, why governor's consent matter? Now, let's talk about why this document is very, very important and powerful. Number one, it finalizes ownership transfer. So without it, the seller may still appear as the recognized owner in government records. So with it, your name becomes legally acknowledged as the new rightful owner of the property. Number two, it protects you from ownership disputes. Now, if conflict arises later in the future, governor's consent shows government recorded the transfer, that you follow due process when purchasing the property, your ownership has legal standing, and that protection is priceless. So number three, it unlocks financial value. Now, banks and institutions, investors often require registered land title, which we spoke about CFO in the previous episode. They also recognizes governor's consent. So without governor's consent, your property may exist physically, but not financially, if you know what that means. So with this same document, your land becomes bankable, it becomes transferable, it becomes legally secure. Now, here's a story I want you to listen to here. Let me tell you about two friends living in the UK. They both bought land in Abuja in the year 2012. Now, both paid similar amounts. Both received the deed of assignment on the same property, but only one processed the governor's consent. So 5 years later, in 2017, the first friend tried to sell quickly to fund a business he was trying to do in the UK. The buyers kept saying, do you have governor's consent? He didn't. The sale was stalled for so many months. Eventually, he had to sell cheaper. And the second friend She had processed us immediately after she purchased the property. When she decided to sell this time around, the buyer's lawyer checked the record, everything matched, transfer was smooth. She saw that the full market value, prices of land and properties in Nigeria does not reduce. And, she said, I thought documentation was expensive, but it turned out to be my biggest protection. Now you can see how important this document is. Now, here's the common misunderstanding that many Nigerians abroad assume. Now, once I sign a deed of assignment, the land is mine. Yes, but not legally. That deed is only part of the transfer. All right. So think of it like buying a car. All right. You may pay for the car and collect the keys, but until ownership is changed in government record, the seller is still recognized as the official owner of that same car. So without it, ownership is still incomplete. So why do so many people avoid processing the same documents? Now, let's be honest. Yeah, the main reason people delay governor's consent is costs. Yes, it is expensive. Now, there are stamp duties you need to pay. There are registration fee. There are consent fees. So many buyers say, well, I'll do it later. Yeah, I will do it in 5 years' time. I'll do it when I'm ready. I'll do it when I'm comfortable. But in real estate, later is where documentation problems are born. All right. So because the longer you wait, documents may get missing, it may get lost, anything could happen to it. So seller may become unreachable even at some point. Ownership trials may become messy. Trust me, you don't want to be in a mess when it comes to real estate investment in Nigeria. And what was simple becomes complicated. All right. So you do not want to be in this kind of challenges. And here's what I want Nigerians abroad to understand. Buying land without completing the legal transfer, without completing your documentation, is like building a house on borrowed recognition. It may stand for years, but when legal proof is needed, it may shine. And governor's consent is what anchors your ownership. And here's my honest practical advice for diaspora buyer. So if you are buying land from any individual or from a company or a developer or previous owner, always ask these questions. Number one, does this land already have a governor's consent? If not, who will process it? Am I the one processing it or you are the one processing it? Then you should also ask, when will it be processed? All right? You need to know the timing. You need to know when. And then you need to also ask, will it be included in the purchase process? All right? Is a lawyer involved? Ask. Because in Nigerian real estate, your money secures the land, but your documentation secures the future. All right? So here's today's takeaway. Governor's consent is not optional. All right? It's not an optional paperwork. It is the bridge between paying for land and being recognized as the owner. So without it, ownership may exist informally, but with your governor's consent, ownership becomes legally complete. And when you're investing from thousands of miles away as Nigerians in diaspora, legal clarity is not a luxury. It is a necessity. So in part 5, we'll be discussing deed of assignment, the document that records how ownership moves from seller to buyer, and why mistakes in this document can cause years of legal trouble. Stay with me on this journey because the goal is not just to buy land in Nigeria. The goal is to own it properly, legally, and confidently. See you in the next one, guys. Thank you very much. Love you.